Let's take a look at another problem. The first thing that I notice is that I don't have everything on one side of the equal sign. I have a -4 that's over on the right by itself, and so I want to go ahead and add 4 to both sides so that I can get that equals 0 on the right-hand side that I'm going to need in order to solve. So let's rewrite as x squared plus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. And now I can easily identify my A, B, and C. If I had left that over on the right-hand side, I might have accidentally used a C value of -4 instead of +4. All right, because my C value is 4, I know that my y-intercept is at an x value of 0 and a y value of 4. My axis of symmetry is the same equation I used before, -b over 2a, which is equal to -4 over 2 times 1. So that's going to give me a value of -2. Once I know that my x value for my axis of symmetry is at -2, I can use that x value to solve for y at that same location because that's going to give me the y coordinate of my vertex. So I will say -2 squared plus 4 times -2 and then plus 4. And so the y value, if you do that little bit of math, I'm actually going to get a y value of 0 because -2 squared is 4, -4 times -2 is -8, so 4 minus 8 is -4, but then we're adding 4 to it, so y ends up being 0. So I know that my vertex is at an x value of -2 and a y value of 0. So we have our first couple of points that we can go ahead and plot. So I'm going to go ahead and create an xy graph again, and I have 0, 4 and -2, 0. So let's go ahead and plot those. And my axis of symmetry is at x equals -2. So my axis of symmetry is here. I'll abbreviate that as AOS. And my vertex is at -2, 0, right here, and my y-intercept is at 4. All right, if I know that I have a point that is up at 4 and 2 to the right of the axis of symmetry, I can also plot a point here, 2 to the left of my axis of symmetry. And so I've got a good start on my graph. Notice that the vertex is hitting right there at the x-axis, so this is going to be one of those cases where we only have one solution. But let's go ahead and jump over to Desmos and take a look at what that's going to show us. All right, so Desmos helps us confirm a couple things. One, that our y-intercept is at 0, 4, and that our vertex is at -2, 0. Notice that that is also the place where we touch the x-axis, so that is going to be our solution. In order to make my graph a little bit better, I'm going to go ahead and grab another point or two. So I can see that I have a point at -1, 1. I can almost see that. It's right in there. And then I would have another point that is up 1 and over 1 to the left. So let's go ahead and plot those points in our graph to give us more points to work with. All right, so back over here in my notes, I'm going to note that I had a coordinate at -1 and 1. So I can put that here, and then I can reflect it over the axis of symmetry. And now I have a nice 5 points, including my vertex, to go ahead and sketch in my graph. This right here is my only x-intercept or solution for this graph, and it occurs at -2, 0. And so I could say that x is equal to -2 if I wanted to write it in x equals form. I would like for you to go ahead and try problem number 3 on your own now, and then come back to see how you did. All right, let's see how you did. It looks like we already have standard form, so I can identify my A, B, and C. And just like the previous times, x is going to be equal to -b over 2a. So that's going to be -2 because b is 2, and then 2 times a, and a is a -1 because of that negative sign there. So I get an x value of 1, and I can plot my axis of symmetry over here on my graph. I identify the y-intercept as being at 3, so we know that the x-coordinate is 0 and my y-intercept is 0, 3. My axis of symmetry helps me to find my vertex because I know that that's the x value of my vertex, so I'm going to plug in a value of 1 everywhere that I see x in my equation. Be careful here. This is a negative and then times x squared. Negative x is not in parentheses, so you need to make sure that the negative sign is outside of parentheses like this, or you're going to get the wrong sign and it's going to mess up. All right, so negative times 1 squared, so that means take 1 and square it and then put a negative sign on it, so that's negative 1, plus 2 is going to give me 1, and then plus 3 is 4. So my vertex is at 1, 4. I can take these 2 points and go ahead and plot them on my graph. I have my y-intercept over here, and then I can plot the point reflected over here at 2, 3. My axis of symmetry is where my vertex is located, and it's located at 1, 4. Then I want to go ahead and jump over to Desmos and see where my x-intercepts are. Let's take a look. All right, so Desmos is going to help you confirm that your vertex is at 1, 4, your y-intercept is at 0, 3, and then we can get our x-intercept values at -1, 0 and at 3, 0. So let's put those into our notes. Back over here on our notes, I can note these 2 points at -1, 0 and at 3, 0. And then, of course, I can plot those points. And those are my solutions. -1, 0 is 1 point and 3, 0 is the other. I could write these in x equals form as x equals -1 and x equals 3.